Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Entrepreneur Motivation Podcast. I'm your host, Chris Bello. On today's episode, I want to talk about sharpening the saw. And you may have heard the quote. I don't know if it was, I'm going to look it up real quick. I think it was Abraham Lincoln. At least I saw that. Sharpen the axe is what the quote says. So it says, there's this Medium article and it's also on brainyquote.com. So I don't know if it's super legit, but this is what it says. Give me 6 hours to chop down a tree and I will spend the first 4 sharpening the axe. So I love that. And I mean, I called this episode Sharpen the Saw, but same thing. You get the picture. If you had 6 hours to cut down a tree, you'd spend the 4 first hours sharpening the axe. So the power of sharpening the axe or the saw is that you're fine-tuning your craft. You're making sure that you're not doing work that won't matter, right? Like if you use a dull axe or saw to try to saw a tree or cut a tree in half, it's going to take way longer than if you're using the right tools. And same goes for anything in your business and in your life. Are you using a sharp axe? Are you using the right tools? If you've ever tried to install something and you have like just a screwdriver and that's it, and you don't have like the legit tools, you kind of know what I'm talking about. And actually, just to put it just to talk about something from my own life, the caulking or whatever it's called, around the bathtub needs to be replaced at my house. Yeah, I sat there and I watched the YouTube video for like 5 minutes. There was a 10 or 12 minute helpful YouTube video with a bunch of views and comments and likes. And 5 minutes in, I realized like I am heavily underprepared and do not have any of the tools that they mentioned. I just had a flashback to when I was a kid and we did that same thing at my parents' house back when I used to live over there. And I'm pretty sure I remember scraping the grout or the caulking or whatever it's called with a butter knife. And that's definitely not the right tool. And what they were saying on the video is that you need like one of these little, almost like a razor blade, or there's a specific type of tool where you can really wedge it in there and like cut at it and then pull. And it's a big, heavy process. And then even whenever you get the actual caulking and you cut the tip of the tube and you have the caulking gun and you apply it, it's recommended that you put painter's tape around the line so you make sure you get a super straight line. And so, yeah, I don't like to say that I quit easily or I give up easily, but I'm just so laser focused that I keep reminding myself. And every time I'm about to do something like cook or do dishes or anything, I'm like, I'm not a chef. That's not what I want to be. So I go and I order my meal prep meals. They arrive the next day or, 2 days later. Or I stop by Snap Kitchen or one of these places where I can buy a bunch of pre-made healthy meals. And I'm like, great, this is amazing. I can just heat up food throughout the day. It's super convenient. It's a little pricey if you look at it on a per plate basis, but I see it as buying my time back and I see it as an investment. And so when I pivot it that way and I'm like, look, Chris, yeah, you could make a plate at $3 or $4 a pop, but you got to buy the chicken, wash it, cut it, clean it, put it in the oven or grill it or whatever, do the dishes, pack it up in little containers, like all those little steps. That would take 2-3 hours maybe of different things. And I don't know, maybe I'm over exaggerating, but say you want to meal prep consistently and I eat a lot, I burn a lot of calories fast, and a resting metabolic rate is super high. I did one of these scans and tests before COVID and everything kicked off, and I found that I burn a ton of calories even if I were to lay in bed all day. I think I burn like 1,200 calories if I were to lay in bed all day, according to that test. And so I need to eat a lot, and I don't want to be cooking and cleaning and all that stuff all the time. So one of the things that I actually realized was like, hey, Chris, you're not a contractor. You're not a handyman. Like, are you really wanting to spend 1 or 2 hours going to Home Depot or ordering these parts off of Amazon and then scraping the tub and pulling the old grout off or caulking off? I don't know if that's the same thing. I keep saying those words, but I just immediately was like, Chris, this isn't your job. Just focus on real estate, close another deal, or get an apartment deal closed, and use that money to pay a contractor $100 to get it done, along with touch up a couple other things that they're good at. Because when I bought this house, and it could use a lot more love and TLC and updates, but when I bought it, I remember I bought it sight unseen. It was an older house built in 1935, and it was an area that was growing in Houston. And I feel like I I definitely got here before all of the boom happened because there's a lot of new builds and construction and stuff happening nearby. So it was kind of just like why not? I had a good job. I had some savings, like let's just buy it. And I had a contractor put in, I did like $20,000 of updates and repairs, and they painted everything, and they updated some stuff and changed doorknobs and door fixtures and fixed some outlets and whatnot. I don't even know. It was just so many different little things. And when the contractor came, he had a big white van with literally everything you can imagine, all kinds of tools, table saws and stuff they'd set up outside and things I wouldn't even know how to use it if I had it. That's what he does. That is his role. So he specialized, he knows. His tools are sharpened, right? He's got the right tools for the job. And so that's what I mean by sharpening the saw, sharpening the axe, making sure that whatever it is that you're about to do is truly the best use of your time. And if you're about to do something that's maybe inefficient, like evaluate, are you about to do it in a way that is going to take way longer? Or should you just consult with one or two people who've done it before, who've been there before, and sharpen the axe, make sure you get the right feedback and that you avoid any pitfalls that they could have probably alerted you to. And so I wonder if I can find a good little blog post to just touch on this a little more, because I think you're seeing the point that I'm trying to make here. So sharpen the axe. Oh, it's also a clothing line apparently. Sharpening your axe, leadership lessons. I think I'm basically touching on all the key points here, but I want to see if there's anything else here on the leadership aspect. Okay, so let's see here. Oh, interesting. Oh, no, that's too long. Okay, cool. I like this story. So here's a story. I thought it was going to be super long, but it's not too long. But this explains it a little better. And this is from netgainit.com/sharpen-your-axe, just to give credit. Once upon a time, a very strong woodcutter asked for a job in a timber merchant. The pay was really good, and so were the working conditions. For those reasons, the woodcutter was determined to do his best. His boss gave him an axe and showed him the area where he would work. The first day, the woodcutter felled 18 trees. That means he chopped down 18 trees. Congratulations, the boss said. Go on that way. Motivated by the boss's words, the woodcutter tried harder the next day, but he could only bring down 15 trees. The third day, he tried even harder, but he could only manage 10 trees. Day by day, he finished with fewer trees. I must be losing his strength, the woodcutter thought. He went to the boss and apologized, saying that he could not understand what was going on. When was the last time you sharpened your axe? The boss asked. Sharpen? I've had no time to sharpen my axe. I've been so busy trying to cut trees. And so this is super powerful because it shows that maybe you're working so hard, you're just spinning in circles, you're spinning your wheels. And if you heard recent episodes where I say I've been riding bikes and like dirt biking a little bit more, or mountain biking, trail riding, whatever it's called, there was one trail that had a lot of sand at the beginning of the path. And I was literally spinning my wheel. So I was laughing because I get where the term comes from now, where I was pedaling and my wheel was stuck in the sand, spinning in place, and I wasn't moving anywhere. So I was doing work, I was burning energy, I was putting in effort, and I wasn't moving anywhere. And so you don't want to be spinning your wheels on things in life and in business. You want to make sure to put time on the calendar to sharpen your axe. And you'll be glad that you did, because your efforts will go further. So let's see this other thing, sharpen your axe. There's another site called leaderonomics.com. That's kind of a confusing name to say, but I think this is probably going to say the same. Yeah, this is talking about the same story about the woodcutter and how he's so busy trying to cut down trees, he didn't realize that he needs to sharpen the axe. But the next section says, sharpening the axe is an activity, so you can sharpen the axe as well in your life. So here's a few examples of how you can do that. Read a book every day. Get out of your comfort zone by changing jobs. A new job forces you to learn. Have a deep conversation with someone you find interesting. Sharpen the axe through that interaction. Pick up a new hobby. Stretch yourself physically, mentally, or emotionally. Study something new. Overcome a specific fear you have, or quit a bad habit. Have a daily exercise routine or take part in some competition. ask for feedback, and get a mentor. So those are some of the things that it's mentioning here that you can do to sharpen the axe, because many of us don't like change. We stay in the same job for years, even though we're not really happy. We become experts and the role becomes easy and our motivation dwindles. But that's where we end up bringing in the excitement, like try something new, learn something new, stimulate your mind. If you're just doing the same stuff over and over again, you become complacent, you become bored, disengaged. I don't know. I was also thinking about this yesterday where I was watching a couple Netflix shows with the girlfriend, Friday night. It was interesting to me where okay, I forget a lot of details in movies and stuff that I haven't seen in years, but I was listening to more old songs, feeling nostalgic from the 2000s, and I remember so many of the words word for word. It's crazy. I hadn't heard some of these songs in years, and I still remember all the words. And same goes for movies. While I may not remember every little detail that happens in movies like Rush Hour 1 or Fast and Furious 1 that I haven't seen in forever, whenever I do pull up the movie on the screen, I'm like, oh, I remember that. Wow. Paul Walker looks so young or whatever. Or I remember that car and I thought the scene was so cool. Oh yeah, I think I know what happens here. This is going to happen, right? And it was pretty cool to see how amazing the brain is, how much we can remember. Because while we do forget stuff, and if we're not staying on top of things like practicing a language, it becomes fuzzy. You can remember so much. It's like your computer might run out of space if you have these old USB thumb drives that have 4 gigabytes of space. It would run out so quickly if you had a couple videos on there or something. And now today, you can carry so much on these small thumb drives. I think I have one here on my keychain, 32 gigabytes in this tiny little thing here, whereas I have one that's bigger than this thumb drive that only had 4 gigabytes at some point. And our mind can, I don't even know how much information you can store. It's truly limitless. It's always creating new neural wiring and pathways. So make sure that you're sharpening the axe, staying on top of it, and staying engaged. Because another thing that's interesting that I heard in a book is that so many people, when they retire, you notice they die soon after. And this is kind of like what I talked about with Brett in a recent interview when I referenced Man's Search for Meaning, is when people lose their purpose and they're not sure what their purpose is anymore. Like say they were a CEO for 20 years and then they quit or they retire and now they're just playing golf all the time. They don't know what they are anymore. They don't have that identity or sense of purpose. And that's when people start to go down off the deep end and, go a little crazy. I don't know, get health problems, mental problems, and just kind of suddenly dwindle and die in often cases because they don't have a purpose. They wake up every morning and they don't know what they want to do or what they're doing on this planet. And so if you wake up every morning with a purpose and you know what that purpose is and you jump out of bed because you're so excited to work on it, you're going to be more motivated to sharpen the axe and to make sure that you're doing the right things and to challenge yourselves and to write a book if you're interested, write a song if you're interested in writing a couple of original songs, pick up a new instrument, try new things. So that's all I have for you today. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, make sure to comment below if you're watching on YouTube. Subscribe to the podcast if you haven't already, and please be sure to share with a friend and leave a review. And with that being said, thank you so much for your time, and I look forward to catching you on the next episode.